Okay, so this first one is from True Off My Chest. And the user has now deleted their account, but they do preface it, I don't regret it, I don't feel bad.
Whew.
The title is, I told my sons I wish I never gave birth to them.
Wow. I'd like to hear this one. I'm just like, what could their son, what could the sons have done?
Mm-hmm. I don't care how many times you come to my door to apologize. I let them and their father bully me for years, call me all kinds of names, how they reject every present I ever bought them because it wasn't brand new or super expensive, despite me having to go hungry sometimes to even afford what I could get them. I came to their father's house one day to say happy birthday. They ignore me. I tried to give them a hug. I got pushed away. Their father told me to stop annoying them on their 16th birthday. Quote, for God's sake. I got them both Nintendo Switches for their birthday, and I set my carefully wrapped present on the table, and they opened it last. When they saw it, they said, really? That's it? I looked confused and asked what's wrong. Was it the color this time? Or maybe they expected games too? Quote, no one fucking plays Nintendo, you fucking dinosaur. They said dinosaur. Quote, you guys never texted me. I didn't know what you wanted, and I know you broke the one you shared, so I got you both your own. I told them. They set the presents I had to starve myself for on the table, and everyone went inside for the cake. I finally realized they don't care. They really don't care. Why it took me years to realize, I don't know, but I do now. I took the Switches and headed for the door. Their dad stopped me and in front of everyone said, quote, hey, where are you going? You're leaving your kids on their birthday? Let her go. It won't make a difference, one of my boys said. Everyone laughed. Everyone fucking laughed. I started to tear up and my son's aunt told me to, quote, stop being a big baby and hold the phone for pictures. I got angry and I yelled in front of everyone. I hate you. I hate you all. I'm tired of this family abusing me, using my trauma against me, making me feel fucking small because I'm not rich and spoiled. I've done nothing but love this family. But because I'm, quote, built like a child, I can't sit with the adults. No one came to my birthday. Why should I be here? No one cares about me, but y'all won't bat an eye if I fucking died, would you? Then I looked at my boys, dead in their eyes, and said, I hate you both. I wish I never fucking had you. I then ran out to my car and left. I blocked them all. The next day, I heard a knock on my door and saw my kids' father. He begged me to come to his house and talk to our kids. He says they're so sorry. Yet, I've never heard this come out of their mouths, so I'm not interested. That was 3 days ago. And ever since, he's come to my door and asked me to forgive them. But I won't. I don't think I can.
Damn. My heart like broke during that story.
I cannot even imagine.
Oh, like to be pushed to that point, because obviously that's just one situation, but it sounds like that's been going on her entire
years of abuse.
Yeah. And to be pushed to that point to look at your children and feel that way and say that, it's like that.
I can't even imagine. Like, I'm trying to put myself in her shoes and to be a mother of like 2 twin boys, to like go through that, to love them, raise them, and to like sacrifice so much. Like,
so much.
To be a parent, you're sacrificing a lot. And then to where she says, I starved myself so I could buy them these presents. I didn't eat so I could make sure they had something to open on their birthday. And you kind of hear this on some of the stories where like one parent is like more loved, like, or the favorite parent. Like, it comes up from time to time, and I can't even imagine feeling like that. And it's not just her kids belittling her and making fun of her in front of family. It's an aunt. It's her own ex-husband.
The fact that everybody laughed at that. How is that funny? Where's the funny?
Also,
let her go. Like, she won't be missed, or what did they say?
Yeah.
Why is that funny? At least have it be funny. It's not.
No. And yeah, they literally said, let her go. It won't make a difference. And then everyone laughed. Everyone fucking laughed. I started to tear up, and my son's aunt told me, stop being a big baby. Hold the phone for pictures.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Like, you're these kids' mother who clearly like loves them. And maybe there's a history that's gone on here that we don't know. And maybe that's why they act like little shitheads, like whatever.
We don't know. Right.
We don't know. But for someone to be like, hey, like, we don't give a fuck that these are your children. Can you take a group photo for us? I think that's like one of the most hurtful things. And like, there's been kind of like TikTok jokes about it where like, oh, tell me you're the least favorite friend without telling me you're the least favorite friend. And then someone will respond to it and be like, I'm always the one that gets asked to take the picture when there's a big group of us. And it sucks. Like, it's such a micro experience, but it's something that can be like so deeply like painful.
Yeah.
And I look at that and that's her. Like, she went through everything, like them rejecting the gift, them opening it last, them telling her it's okay if she leaves, asking to take the picture for the family. Like, it's again and again and again.
Well, what got me was the fact that she said, no one showed up for my birthday.
Yeah.
With the situation in itself, and again, we don't know. There could be a lot of other dynamics in play. We only know what we know. But for the story's sake, let's just say that she's exactly how we're perceiving it. This really sweet mother who is trying so hard and just keeps on getting made fun of, shit on, not respected, and she's putting her all into it. So that breaks me to hear that. And when you first read the title, I was like, what the fuck? Like, how is that ever okay? But then when you read it, it broke my heart. And it also reminded me too of this time when I was little and I went over to one of my friends' houses and there was this whole neighborhood get together and the parents were there and the kids were there. And I came in a little bit later and I'm literally like in the front door and my best friend's brother was making fun of me. And I don't remember what exactly he said, but he was making fun of me in front of everyone and everyone was just kind of like, haha, like laughed along with it. And I will never forget that feeling. And I like went directly into the bathroom and just started crying. And then they realized that I went into the bathroom when they heard it shut. And then somebody was like, that was Lauren, whatever. And I didn't want to leave the bathroom and I didn't know what to do and I felt trapped and I just like, I needed to get out of there, but I wanted to zap myself out of there. And it's just like that type of feeling is so, it doesn't sound like the end of the world, right? But it really hurts.
It's so painful.
I feel for her.
I know. Well, and then it begs the question, like, could she have handled this better? Because hearing your own mom, and granted, they were acting like shitheads, but they're also 16. They're fucking teenagers. They're little terrorists. Like, they're just terrible humans. Like, sometimes, like I was not a good teenager. You battle with your parents. You push boundaries. You talk shit. Like, that's a part of being a normal teenager typically. And so to have your mom say, I hate you and I regret having you.
Yeah.
Like,
no, that's so traumatic.
That's also like, fuck. Like, okay. Thanks, mom. Like, love you too.
But that's why I wonder, that's why I'm saying like, were they really just this bad to her over and over again? And did they actually just not give a fuck? Or are they just being teenagers and they're just being little shits and they treat their dad like that too? And they just, whatever. Yeah. So, because you're right. If my mom said that to me when I was 16, holy shit. And I've definitely had my fair share of fights with my mom. But I guess like, you're right. There's no real excuse for saying that. But I do have a heart for how she must have felt. But at the same time,
I know. So it's really a toss up for me. I'm like really on the fence about this one where half of me says like, no, those kids deserve to hear that for treating their mom that way, especially if it's been years and years of abuse. Like how they reject every present I ever bought them because it wasn't brand new or super expensive, despite me having to go hungry sometimes to even afford what I could get them. It does sound like there's been a lot of abuse there. And even the dad being like, hey, where are you going? Like, oh, you're leaving your kids on their birthday? Like, kind of like almost gaslighting her. So half of me is like, okay, I think it was necessary. Maybe it'll be a reality check. Maybe they'll treat her better. But at the same time, I'm like, did they learn anything? Because the kids aren't knocking at the door apologizing. Yeah. It's the ex-husband.
That's what I was thinking too. Why aren't they knocking? But then again, I mean, I can't imagine hearing that as a 16-year-old. Yeah. I do think, and that's this is the thing with the story. Obviously, at first I was focusing a lot on the mom and how she's feeling, but I don't think that's an excuse to say that to somebody. I mean, think about it. Even if your worst enemy, if you were to be like, the world would be better off if you were not born. That's a really, really harsh thing to say to somebody.
I'd say it, not say it again.
Yeah, but and especially at 16 when you're still figuring your shit out and you're still growing up. Like, I mean, I don't agree with it, but I do feel for her pain. It would have been better if she said something maybe a little bit more, still kind of like hit them where it hurts, but wasn't so drastic, because how do you take that back? You can't reel that one back in.
But okay, you guys are saying like she could have handled it better. How would you have handled it? Like just walk out and not say anything at all and like be the bigger person? But then
I mean, I think you could still say what she wants to say. The message is, I've been dealing with your abuse years and years and years, and all I've tried to do is make you happy. All I've tried to do is give you love, and you guys don't give me anything back. So I'm done trying. And then leave.
Mic drop, yeah.
Yeah, like it doesn't have to be like, I wish you didn't exist.
Well, and then there's no way that they, abusers oftentimes like to play the victim.
Yeah, they probably won't receive that message, just like my mom's a psycho.
Yeah. And so there's no way they could then take that, what she said, and play the victim or interpret it like, poor me, poor me. They probably, I mean, if they're truly abusing her like the way she describes, they probably still will find a way. But this is a tough situation to be in. And
what do the comments say?
Top comment says, what a shit family. Next one, yep, well said. Next one, some kids just suck. My brother was one of them. I can understand some parents. Next comment, which is a pretty long one. Fucking agreed. I know that kids can be assholes. When I was a kid, the idea that my mom would occasionally work double shifts or go hungry to save money just to buy me and my sister something nice just did not enter my head until embarrassingly late. Fuck, did I feel embarrassed in my early 20s when it fully sunk in just how much my parents sacrificed for me and my sister.
Yeah.
So, username, if it helps, unless they are complete psychopaths, just remember that they will recall their attitude and cringe when they're older. Cringe hard. Mm-hmm. In my case, I called my mom and told her everything I appreciated about her and apologized for being an asshole in my teens. That being said, it's a small comfort right now. Just remember that there are people on this very website who would kill to have a mother like you. It's bullshit that this ever even happened without another family member stepping in to teach them how to behave appropriately. Yeah. Ugh. Yeah. Ungrateful little fucks I can forgive. But the husband and other relatives who couldn't say even, quote, your mom worked very hard for this. What did you buy her? Is something else.
Yeah.
Edit. Also, if this has been going on for years, as you said, your rant is completely deserved and on point. I cannot believe that their dad watched this for years and ignored it. If we were in that other sub, I'd say everyone sucks here, except OP. Edit 2. I legit thought OP was referring to Nintendo 3DS, and my comment depended on that. It was 2 Switches. Oh, for fuck's sake. You may want to disregard my optimistic outlook. It will take a miracle to make them realize their asshole-nish, 20s or not. Which, like, Nintendo Switches, like, are pretty fucking popular. I remember when, like, Animal Farm, like, was a thing, and, like, people were, like, selling out Nintendo Switches for months.
Yeah.
Forever. Like, they were in line overnight in the cold, like, almost like Black Friday shopping used to be. Like, just so ungrateful. So ungrateful.
Yeah. I agree. Sounds like they suck.
Fuck those little kids.
Seriously.
I feel like
stories like this, I always picture like little Dudleys from Harry Potter. That's what I see.
I don't know who I picture. I mean, there's so many like little evil kids from movies, but I don't know. But we had our group therapy call earlier tonight for Patreon, and like I feel like the whole night I've been like, fuck that dude, fuck that person, like fuck them. Just people can just be so terrible. It's quite frustrating. which I don't know if it's going to get better right away. I think some of these stories might be like yeah, they handled it perfectly. I can't remember what I saved.
Oh, yeah. Okay, back to the theme. So what's your final consensus?
I think I'm 65, maybe even 70% that how it played out is I'm okay with.
I would say, this is so hard because like I said, I'm on her side. Like I'm on her team, but do I think that she could have said something that might be a little bit more impactful? Yeah. Do I think maybe they're fucking idiots and they'll grow up and realize that, that she's amazing?
It's a tough one.
So yeah, it's kind of hard for me to say. I just think that the thing is that I don't blame her either, because if I were to be in that situation, I might fucking say that exact same thing too. Okay. If I was at my wit's end.
1, 2, 3. Final answer.
I stand with mom.
Okay.
But I really hope those boys aren't traumatized and it sends them down an even farther spiral than the direction they're headed right now.
Yeah, seriously. So we read a story, and it was the first story on that episode because I did have you re-listen to it today to do a little research, make sure we kind of knew what we were talking about, knew about this story. And it was a story about a mom who came out and said that she yelled at her kids and told them that she regretted having them, essentially wished they never would have been born. She got them Nintendo Switches for their birthday, Nintendo Switch each.
She said that she starved herself in order to get these presents.
Yeah, and then they freaked out, called her a dinosaur.
They made fun of her when she was crying.
Said something along the lines of just leave, no one's gonna notice.
No one cares if you're here or not.
Yeah, so it was messy. And so I don't want to give too much away. When I read the other side, you'll know how it came about. But I got messaged the other side to the story. And it's not written by one of the boys or the ex-husband. It is actually written by her daughter.
She has a daughter.
Yeah. Failed to mention that key detail.
Wow.
So let's read this one. So the title of the original was I Told My Sons I Wish I Never Gave Birth to Them. And then the other side is titled I Hate My Mom and How She Convinced Thousands of People That She's the Victim. This is going to be long, but please bear with me. I, 23 female, am no longer in contact with my mom, Jane, because of years of abuse, manipulation, fear-mongering, and hatred. I was conceived through a one-night stand. Jane couldn't get in contact with the guy, and so carried and raised me as a single mother until she met someone. And God, did she let me know it. She made sure to tell me how unwanted, unlovable, and disgusting I was.
Oh my God.
She admitted to neglecting me as an infant and toddler and how she would essentially have screaming matches with me. When I was 5, she met William and they fell in love. They got married within a year, and William adopted me after his twin sons, John and Oscar, 16 male, were born. I was 7. Their relationship moved very fast, and I believed it caused a lot of turmoil. I truly believe the pregnancy was to trap William, but that's speculation and opening a whole can of worms. During the pregnancy, Jane would have tantrums about having twins, how she only wanted one, and how she would only love the first one that came out.
What the fuck?
This was a new side to her that William hadn't seen before, and he shut it down quickly. Well, she kept her promise and only gave attention to Oscar. John was completely neglected by her other than to feed. She had intense postpartum depression, and that's not her fault, but what is how she handled it. She refused to get help and claimed PPD/PPP is for insane and bad mothers.
Oh my God.
At some point when the boys were a year or so old, she was admitted in a hospital for having intense thoughts about hurting herself or others. She was diagnosed with depression, anxiety, and PPP. She spent 5 months in a hospital/mental health facility. For those 5 months she was gone, I've never felt so much love from another person in my life. Bearing in mind, I was just 8.
God.
All I had known was yelling and emotional abuse. When she got out, both sides of the family had a big sit down and told her their expectations. It was all doable. Go to therapy, take her meds, and they made her a list of emergency contacts who she could call if she was feeling it all a bit too much. She had a support system in place, but she didn't use it. We moved out when William got home and found me at age 11 trying to cook dinner for my brothers, except Jane had turned the gas and electric off as punishment. Jane had locked herself in the bathroom and wouldn't come out because John was upset. Remember, she hates John. She had also thrown a ton of stuff around in a fit of rage because I said she probably shouldn't take Oscar to the shop if she can't walk straight. William packed our stuff up and we left for his mother's. Jane was not happy about that. When he found out she had thrown shit around and at me, he was furious. He filed for divorce the following Monday. The court gave him full custody with mandated visitations from Jane. I remember crying myself to sleep when I found that out. We moved out to Grandma's house and into a nice flat where we seemed to really get our life together. Other than the visitation, we were good until William got a new job and we had to move across the city. This set Jane off, who, up until this point, had been on mostly good behavior. We moved closer to William's sister and her family. They all knew about Jane. Aunt was on the contact list, but we all tried to move forward. Things were good for a couple of years, but then I turned 16. The day after my 16th, I got a text from Jane telling me that she's moving out and that I need to pack my stuff from my old room. I went, stupidly, and began putting things into piles. Jane just stood in the doorway and eventually began bawling her eyes out. She began apologizing for everything she had done and how she feels like a failure. This is when she told me about the emotional and verbal abuse she inflicted on me as an infant/toddler and how she blames herself for my numerous mental health issues. This was all leading up to her asking if I could ever forgive her. I said no. I said that she may feel guilty, but she's stuck in this cycle where she's abused the boys as well. She lost her fucking mind and kicked me out. It got a little physical between us, and she ended up screaming that I'm no longer her daughter and how she's disowning me.
Good.
When I got home, I told William everything. He was furious too, and went to her place and arrived back home hours later with our stuff. I don't know what went down, and I don't want to. We filed a police report. I had scrapes and bruises, and her mandated visits were lifted. A weight had been lifted off my shoulders. It felt like this black cloud of negativity had finally eased up. I felt so much happier. I began to focus on school and my family without dreading having to see her. We couldn't get a restraining order, but she kept her distance. She would send birthday and Christmas cards, but we never reciprocated. The boys know a little bit about what went down, but William was very frugal with what he told them. He said he didn't want to inflict unnecessary emotional damage onto them. Then, on their 16th, she shows up, which was weird because she never shows up to anything. I kept my distance and stayed in the kitchen, but I could still see and hear everything. I was shaking in fear and had to run to the bathroom at one point. She had bought them both Nintendo Switches. They both opened her presents last and both quietly thanked her. There was no insults being thrown around. No one said, "Let her go, it won't make a difference." The atmosphere was stifling. In fact, it was Jane who yelled and insulted first. She called the twins ungrateful brats, and the second she stood up to yell, William and Auntie began to push her outside. As she was being pushed, she points at the twins and yelled, "You're both fucking ungrateful, unlovable little cunts, and my biggest regret is not aborting you when I had the chance."
Oh my God. Wow.
The party was naturally ruined at this point, and the boys are both totally emotionally destroyed. William left at one point to go and talk to her because she had blocked William, the only one who has her number. But I don't know the specifics. It's been a few weeks since the incident, and the boys are both destroyed. Oscar has become a recluse, and John isn't eating. I'm furious. I'm sorry for making this so long. I'm just so mad, traumatized, and upset by the whole thing.
Jesus Christ. Oh,
Didn't see that coming, did you?
So it's so fucking crazy to hear this because if anyone remembers well from this story, one of the things that I did say was that, taking, you know, we don't know all the details, but taking this story for face value and, you know, assuming the best, assuming this mom is just really like the victim here are my thoughts, right? But there was a part of me that kind of felt like it's almost too perfectly set up for her to be this perfect victim, where I felt like there was something missing, but I didn't have information to.
Yeah.
So it's like I went off of that. And hearing this is just so crazy because it's like, you know that there's two sides to every story. So every story we read, you know, there's always going to be missing pieces. Yeah. But when the second story is so polarizing, the
first one is a flat out fucking lie.
A fucking lie.
It's
complete lie.
It's so distorted.
Yeah. But there's like those like the little like things that are the same, right? Like the Nintendo, the Nintendo Switches, like enough for that we can realize that they are the same stories, right? Like the 16th birthday, like
obviously people recognized. Otherwise, I wouldn't. Right? Like a listener. The reason I found this is because a listener sent it to me, and this is her post is on r/vent
because she didn't even take it and like respond to it, right? Like she didn't take the post.
No, so a lot of the two-sided stories that I have, like a lot of the people found the post and replied in the comments. Right. She didn't do that. Yeah. She went to a totally different subreddit, r/vent, which has I think 130 something on it. 133K.
Okay.
Like there's no one on there. There's only 300 it's someone, but compared to like
the big threads that are millions of people. Yeah.
So the mom posted on True Off My Chest, which had, I think there's 1.7 million on that sub. So I mean, it's a small percentage. And so to be sent it, and then I'll read her edit, which I think is kind of like what really caused me to like have this visceral reaction where I was like, Lauren, we need to record this now.
Yeah.
Like I got sent this Sunday and I texted you immediately and I go, when are you free?
Yeah,
like,
this was an emergency recording session.
Literally like 911, when can you record?
She's like, when are you available? I was like, I'm available. Let's go. She's like, I'm excited. I was like, if you're excited, I'm excited. Let's go.
Yeah. Cause I think it's not a theme we've done. And I've toyed with the idea with it before, but I didn't know if I would be able to find enough stories. And like, I definitely did because here we are, but it's so important to get her side out too, because I felt really bad. So let me read her edit and then we'll talk about probably why I felt so bad.
Okay.
So edit, hi everyone. I'm just popping in to clarify some things that I've been receiving in my DMs and questions in the cross posts. Yes, I do read them. 1, I do have a Reddit account, but I only use it to post Sims 4 content. Kind of lame, I know. And I am only subscribed/following subs of games I play. My second year of uni has also been kicking my ass, and so I haven't been online as much. I know her post got a lot of traction, but I didn't see it. It got deleted, so it's not going to pop up on suggested sub-posts Reddit is pushing. 2, I did hear about my mother's post from the THT podcast, hence the weird timing. I know it seems a little coincidental, but I promise this is all real. 3, I have zero ill will towards anyone who sympathized with my mother as they were going off her original post. I've gotten many people DMing me about it, and I just wanted to say that I totally understand why anyone reading the original post would think, what a shit family. It did suck to read everyone siding with her, but there is literally no reason to be mad as that's all the info they had.
Yeah.
Which I think that's like, again, we do like recognize, I think you more so than anyone, you do a really good job of like devil's advocating. I've said that like is it's like one of your superhero powers. Like it's a good power, good trait to have. But like, I think also sometimes we do.
You've definitely screamed at me for it before.
There's sometimes when you don't need to be the devil's advocate, Lauren, especially when it comes to Kim Kardashian almost killing my dad.
Oh my!
That was our biggest fight.
Yeah, we got in one fight over it because,
she literally almost like ran him down, like ran him off the road or some shit.
Yeah, and I obviously like you're
like, I don't know if Kim could have been. Blah, blah. I was like, no. Yeah, that was our biggest fight I think we've ever had. But you do a good job of that. And so I think there are sometimes you get lost in the sauce, but it's also, we only have one side most times. And so we do take it at face value, because how annoying would it be if every post we sat there and shat on it, or we're like, this is fucking fake.
Yeah.
None of us would fucking be here. I'll tell you that right now. It would be a shit podcast. So I felt really, really bad. Especially the fact that she heard it on the podcast. And I'm not sure if she's a regular listener or just like someone sent it to her, whatever. Yeah. But like how how traumatizing would that be?
Well, I mean, and the good thing about hearing this is that she is smart enough and
Strong enough.
Strong enough.
Yeah.
Emotionally mature enough to see that it's like people are saying this because they're only going off of a story of lies, right? So it's like, and we say this all the time, it's like we're going off the face value. Like there's always going to be more to each story that we read, but like we don't have more. So all we're going off of is what we have, right? And so it's really amazing that she, at her young age, and especially going through so much fucking bullshit growing up and probably like a lot of trauma.
So much trauma.
It's like, it's really amazing that she can see that and being like, I'm not mad at anyone. Like, I just wanted to like vent and put this out here. Like what the truth is, right?
I can't even imagine.
Tough,
I would be so triggered, like hearing your life story.
Told in a complete lie.
Well, and it's like, there's enough, like kind of like what we said, there's enough of the situation that makes it so it's like, oh, it's the same. Like, I bought them Nintendo Switches. Oh, I left. Like, there's little details in there that are similar, but I can't even imagine after like being subjected to this abuse and trauma and then having her, who is not the victim in this, play the victim. I'd lose my mind.
Yeah.
I'd lose my mind. So
oh my God, I know.
I felt really bad. I reached out and I messaged her and she messaged me back. And I did ask, I was like, do you want to come on? I'm going to read your side. Like, would you want to come on and answer any questions or talk about it with us? Things like that. And I did say, I was like, I totally understand if you're not comfortable because this is a scary thing to do.
Yeah, I fucking shit myself every time I come up here.
Yeah. And so not comfortable. However, she is gracious enough that if we have any questions, she will answer the questions. So I will post on the YouTube a pinned comment. And if you want to ask OP, like this OP questions, just reply to that, what you'd like asked. But I'm really happy that she's getting her side out because I just, it's so important to get that truth out there. And
well, can I just say too, like, I feel so fucking happy that she was able to be taken in by such a loving father.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Like the way that it sounds is that he took her in as a child just as much as his biological children.
Yeah, I think so too.
Which that type of stuff just makes me so happy. Like that is the part of life that I love so much. Especially because like, you know, you hear a lot of times like this whole like motherly instinct and like mothers are held to like a more higher standard like when it comes to kids. And like, so it makes me really happy when I hear like a father that like steps up like that.
It's amazing. Well, and like the fact that he abuse after abuse, but like so bad. I think the cutting the power off and the gas off is like, you're literally starving your kids for a punishment.
It's fucked up.
Psychotic. But the fact that he came home and found stuff out and then was like, nope, we're done. We're leaving and filed for divorce Monday. Yeah. Like incredible. Incredible to advocate for your kids like that.
Absolutely. Yes.
It sounds like she's got herself a little Jerry almost.
Yeah.
Because that's what my dad did for me. He's not my biological dad. So that's really,
I love it.
Makes me really happy. But yeah, I in hindsight, like I think kind of with what you said, like you had this inkling and I listened over to our response and reading the story and everything before this. And it's kind of like, it kind of hits you in the face where you're like, oh, in hindsight, like kind of like what you said, it was just too good to be true. There was too many details. And like, I don't know.
It was too many like things pointing into a way of everyone wanting to like give her sympathy and to see her as the victim. And like I've heard situations like this, like through other people that I know, like their friends and whatnot, where sometimes people will tell their story in a way that tailors it to validate themselves, right? And I actually think about this when we're on the show and you're telling me stories of people that are like, am I the asshole? Like, I just punched my friend in the face for no reason. Like, am I the asshole? I'm like, wait, how do you not realize that you're the asshole? And I'm like, this has to be like genuine because like, why? Like, no, like, you just dead ass don't realize that you're the asshole and you're asking people if you are. But like when someone writes in, you know, I don't think she said, did she say, am I the asshole? No, she didn't.
It was just true off my chest. So
Yeah.
I wasn't necessarily looking for a vote.
But it was, looking for some type of validation.
Oh, attention. Validation, 100%.
Yeah. And so I know that sometimes people will literally just go to therapists to validate their own stories instead of just to get help, right? Because it's like to go to a therapist is to be just completely vulnerable, tell the whole story, how it is, like all of the points that you can see from like your given stance, right? But like some people go there, and whether they're unable to see other like aspects of the story or whether they genuinely just want to get that validation and tailor it directly to like get the therapist to be like, you're right, the people around you are toxic. Like that's what this feels like.
It is interesting too because it was posted on True Off My Chest. So it's like, it's supposed to be true, you fucker.
Bitch.
You fucker.
God damn it.
I know. So on the Best of Redditor updates, they've compiled all this, and the people do say, like, I was a little skeptical. Like, the fact that she was just playing herself up to be such a victim and blah, blah, blah. And it's like,
yeah.
I will say, like, there are people that do go through this.
Oh, yeah, of course. That's why we all believed it.
Yeah.
100%.
So it's like, well, and everyone on the True Off My Chest did too. Like looking at that.
Yeah, everyone commented and we're like, no, fuck that. Everyone commented. You guys, literally, the fact that I was just like, yeah, I don't think that that's the right way to like communicate to a 16-year-old saying, I wish I never had you. And there's people that were like mad about me saying that. And I'm like, I'm not saying I'm against the mom. I'm with the mom, but
yeah.
But I think there's better ways to communicate your feelings, and people like still weren't happy with that. So like, yes, like that story, like things like that clearly happen. It's believable enough that like not only the people on the Reddit's like comments, but the people on our comments also were just like,
wow,
no, they were like mom power, fuck the boys, like any type of like, so yeah, like
it does happen.
Yeah.
Absolutely plausible in other families, but not the case in this one, which is why it was so important that this other side came out.
Yeah.
And so thank you for sharing. Thank you for allowing us to read it.
Yeah.
And again, if anyone has questions for her. And
also one last thing I just want to point out too, like even though this is sad that she heard this from Two Hot Takes, but then it also gave the ability to share her side of the story, and then we could share it too. And it doesn't really matter because nobody is named, right? But at the same time, it's kind of cool that we're also bringing this to light. I don't know. Would you say like it's a positive to it?
Yeah, I had really mixed feelings when I was like, when I saw that she heard it on the Two Hot Takes podcast, because like obviously I know. I'm gonna get choked up. I don't know. I obviously know everyone that's writing in is they're real people,
but when you
except the troll post. But when you feel that it like directly affects someone,
100%,
like I was so scared for that, because I was like, I even messaged her and I was like, I'm so sorry if this was like even more traumatic for you, like to go through hearing this, and like you just feel bad because I try when we read these stories, like sometimes I get really heated and I throw out a lot of fuck yous, like fuck you, Jane. But I try to still give my answers where I'm not overly aggressive towards the writers if they piss me off, or the people sometimes.
Well, I don't know.
It's
easy like to dissociate, and that's why like when in any world, if people are commenting, the meanest comments that they'll do is when their name's not associated, right? Like, and it goes like back and forth. So it's just like the less that we identify people with people, like if your name's like Kitty Cat 123 with no profile picture, then it's like harder to like identify you as like having any type of human substance, you know? But yeah, no, I've actually noticed this too within when I'm speaking on the podcast, the other way around, right? Like sometimes you've read a story off that is a listener write-in, and my reaction, I'm like, okay, no, she's wrong. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh fuck, I forgot it's a listener writing, and now I feel bad.
Yeah.
Because now you're like, now you're a human, you know? So I know that shit happens. Like,
well, it's like a phenomenon too. I mean,
it really is.
You look at even like positions of power can change people. Like I know the Stanford prison experiment has now been like invalidated, but
It has been invalidated?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
There's something recently, there's something with it that the prison guards were like coached before. And so it wasn't necessarily like an accurate portrayal of what people would do in positions of power. Some people say it still stands. Some say the guards were coached a little before. So I haven't really dived into it. But, and I'm not saying like we have positions of power, but like just
but even if you're coached,
a platform, so to speak, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
Like where you treat the Reddit ones different than we would a listener
with
write
a listener,
in,
right?
Because they're like our part of our little family.
Yeah, the part of the family where it's just like
you don't want to hurt their feelings.
It feels so anonymous when it's
Reddit.
on Reddit and we don't know anything about
it.
And it is anonymous,
which is why like, and the listener write-ins
exactly aren't. Which we would never do that about a person, like expose them on this pod. Like even like I don't even like talking about anyone in my life on this podcast because I don't want to like anyone to feel like exposed like that, right? So I think that's what makes it feel like it's, okay. But at the same time, when we hear that somebody is just like, I heard it from the two, it makes it feel so real.
I literally started crying.
Holy shit. Yeah, I don't blame you.
I started crying when I read it. And so it's just, I'm happy that I feel like I can rectify it a little bit, and which was why I called 911, aka Lauren, was like, we got to record. And then we made this whole theme of other two-sided stories.
Yeah.
So on to the next one.
Okay, let's do it.